Hello, hello, here we go, it's the Cop-Out Podcast.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Cop-Out Podcast. It's Mick, and I'm delighted to be joined by Robbo once again. I think this might be your second or third appearance, but nice to have you on again, lad. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for inviting us on. Nice to have a little natter about the Reds. Yeah, I'm doing well. Looking forward to going the game again. Feels like ages since we got to go the game.
I know, like I put something up the other day, like on Twitter, just as a laugh, saying like it feels like about like it's been 28 days, obviously, since our last Prem game, but it feels like 28 years. And then one of the lads from Opta, Mike Reed, put like up a stat saying it's like the longest gap between Premier League games or league games for Liverpool since like 1979, apparently.
Is it? Yeah.
So it's like obviously circumstances have made that so, but like it's just felt like an absolutely unbelievable break, hasn't it? It's been hard.
I think in a way though, it could work in our favour because we weren't having the best of times, were we? And I think the Ajax game was a good bounce back, but it still wasn't like it still didn't feel like the Liverpool we know and love. It still wasn't exactly right, and to be relying on Matip to pop up with the winner is not ideal, is it? So I don't know. I'm seeing it as it's a cliche and it's a football cliche, but football's full of them, and it's fine to use them from time to time. I think, do you know what I mean? We've got a few lads coming back from injury now as well. That looks a bit more rosier on that scene. I think it's good that we're coming back with a home game as well. On a Saturday, 3:00 old school. I think if we hadn't had the big break that we have had, you might have got the "it's only Brighton" shouts. But I think because of the way it is, the circumstance, the way the season's gone so far, it feels to me like there'll be a bit of a buzz around it tomorrow. I suspect the atmosphere will be good. I think the players will be up for it. They'll have a point to prove, and they're individuals now. We've got a point to prove. Trent being one of them as well.
Yeah, there's loads, isn't he? Like obviously not being in form and injuries, people coming back from injuries, and like you said, like it's hopefully going to be a good break for us, and obviously Brighton changing manager and stuff, which we'll get into in a bit. But obviously you did you don't do many shows anymore, obviously, since you've left the Wrap, so we don't see it as much, and we don't get to hear your opinions on the Reds as much, unfortunately, which is I know a lot of people, like I've been saying to you before we started recording, like a lot of people are obviously interested in what you're up to and stuff, but I just wanted to ask you your general opinion, like on the season so far. Obviously 6 Premier League games, 9 points, 2 wins, 3 draws and a loss, and then obviously 2 Champions League games with the Napoli embarrassment that it was, and then we took a big step in the right direction in the Ajax game. But what have you made it overall in terms of like how we've done?
I mean, it's been really hit and miss, hasn't it? And it's been a disappointment. I don't think there's any sort of polish in it, really. And obviously there's the big win against Bournemouth, which you thought was going to be the big turnaround moment, and then more disappointing results followed, and yet Napoli really, really bad. And just it's been odd, hasn't it? Because I think you're just seeing individuals that you've come to know and to trust wearing the red shirt, doing things that you're not used to seeing them do. Van Dijk among them. And who thought we'd be saying things like that? But I think some of the rush to turn to crisis talk that sort of plagues football analysis now is a bit daft, because Brighton are starting this game above us. I mean, does anyone really think that come the end of the season those places are going to stay the same? Do we really think Liverpool are going to be 8th? Do we really think Brighton are going to be 4th? So I just think you've got to think that it's a season-long thing, and I still think there's plenty of time for things to go right. Things have gone wrong, and there's no two ways about that. The Nunez situation with him getting sent off, a very daft situation. I think that put us back in terms of there are 3 games where he could have been building and understanding with the rest of his teammates, and they're lost. So that puts you back. But he scored, hasn't he, internationally in this break, so that should be good for him. And hopefully it's just giving everyone a chance to have like a big chat, give a collective wobble of heads, And I just think, the attitude should be better. The application should be better. And look, some of the stuff as well we've seen this season, I think is genuinely being a little bit worrying. So, when you're seeing stats that are saying we're being outrun and things like that, you're like, well, hang on, that was always something you could rely on. Effort and energy of Klopp teams have always been there, and everything else has sort of followed in from that. And so when that was lacking, you're thinking, well, is there a real collective mental issue here? Is there a hangover from the way last season went, going so close to doing something no one's ever done before in terms of a quadruple, the big ones falling by the wayside, the grimness of Paris, which, is obviously grim for fans who were caught up in it. But I almost feel like there's been a collective grimness around it, full stop. You'd see players talking about their families being caught up in it and things like that. They're all human, and all these little things, matter. And so I just think, maybe like, some of the togetherness that's like taken us through in the past was chipped away at a little bit. But, I think we can get it back. I think we can be all right. And, obviously we need Nunez to start contributing positively. I still think it's far, far too early to be writing him off. It's ridiculous that people, find things that he's done in training and make big deals about it. But that is the generation we are around and in, and surrounded by in terms of the internet and social media now. I'm more than happy to allow him some time, because it's ridiculous to be writing the lad off at this stage. And look, I hark back as well on the subject of him for a second to when he was opposition at Anfield. And, I came away that night saying, I tell you what, that lad looked good. He caused us some problems there. If he's putting in that performance in a Liverpool shirt, then we're all going to be happy. And if he's putting that performance in a Liverpool shirt on the regular, he will score goals and he will cause teams problems. I think he's had a bit of a, he's been that desperate to impress that, he's channeled his energy in the wrong way, and obviously ended up paying the price with the red card. But I'm sure they've had a word with him behind the scenes. And I'm sure that we'll see, a more positive version of Nunez hopefully starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I think like in terms of like an equivalent, I think it's like 2.6 games he's played. I think it's like 259 minutes. It's absolutely, like any other time you'd say, oh, like stats wise, you'd say the sample size is too small. Like if you're a proper stat head, but like he's just not played enough games. And like you said, it's partly his fault with the whole red card thing, getting missing 3 games, which was quite key in the end in terms of us, like maybe that gelling in period, like you mentioned, like we could have been away a lot higher in terms of where we are in terms of his development into as an integration than we are at the minute if that didn't happen. But hopefully Brighton's the start of a proper, I don't know, like it feels like a proper break, so it just feels like a new season again to me. Like a little bit.
Exactly. And I think probably, that is what they'll be saying behind the scenes as well. You think about, ultimately it's down to the manager and the coaches to get the collective mindset in the right place for them to go and perform in the best possible way that they can. And, a lot of that is down to belief and things like that. So I'm sure that they'll be saying to them, like, treat this as though, we've had a bit of a false start. Let's have the real one now. And, you've got this period, haven't you, now before the World Cup, where there's 13 games. It's game after game. It's midweek weekend, over and over again. Everyone's going to get a go in the squad. And I kind of think Liverpool, under Klopp as well, but traditionally as well, they get on a roll. I remember seeing someone, I don't know who it was, once on Twitter saying, when people talk about momentum in football, it's bollocks. I totally disagree with that. I think it's the other way around. I think you can get on a roll, you can start winning, you can start finding your way back, and all of a sudden confidence goes up. And look, let's be honest, they've made things hard for themselves. They've left the margin for error now is small, certainly in terms of, a realistic title challenge and things like that. So they'll know that as well. So they've got to come out the blocks. They've got to beat Brighton. And then you're straight on to Arsenal, who are top of the league. And then you've got Man City. So, they're huge games. But if you don't get a reaction in games like that, well, when are you ever going to get one? And look, I've just ripped the media and social media a minute ago saying, well, I think, reports of Liverpool's death are greatly exaggerated, etc. But, if they don't get something out of Arsenal and don't get something out of City, then we'll really be having conversations about, well, what is this season going to be about now? And is it just about, getting a Champions League slot and trying to do something in the Cups? But equally, if they turn something around next few weeks, and they're more than capable of doing it, in my opinion, then it turns the other way, and all of a sudden, it's Liverpool are talked about positively, the fans are behind them, the chat in the media will be positive all of a sudden. The Arsenal, if we can go and beat Arsenal, well, that'll burst their bubble, won't it? And all of a sudden, it'll be like same old Arsenal. So these things can shift quite quickly. See, equally, if Liverpool are able to beat Manchester City, which is a big ask, and it'll be a tough game. It always is against them. There's never much in it. But again, you don't feel like it's beyond the realms. It's in there, and we've got Thiago fit at the moment and playing, so that's a good thing because Liverpool are better side with him in and around it. Henderson available again, Kanate available very soon, Curtis Jones the same. So all the ills that were contributing to how we've been doing as well, slowly and touch wood seem to be clearing up, and again that will offer opportunity for the squad collectively to perform better, because you're not relying on. I mean, we've still got a situation with Robertson, haven't we? I think he's out tomorrow. Likely Simicast steps in, but you've got we might get a glimpse of Ramsey now. It seems at right back and things like that. So there's loads of stuff I think to be positive about, to be hopeful about, to suggest that we can string some results together. But it's literally got to start tomorrow, and Brighton are a good side as well. I mean, I wasn't having a pop before by saying no one expects them to finish fourth, but they've made a good start to the season, a better start than us. And it's a long time since Brighton kicked off a game against Liverpool and they were above them in the league, so they'll be buzzing. And look, they've lost the manager, but the manager was there long enough for me that his ways will still be there. They've got a way of playing, they understand each other, they feel very together, and they've got a new man in. But I don't think he'll be looking to change too much, I wouldn't thought, because they're doing well. It's not like he's been brought in because, the other manager was sacked because he was doing a bad job. He's been brought in because Potter's gone to Chelsea. So he'll be looking to build on Potter's work and probably not change too much, because they've been all right against us, haven't they, in recent fixtures, albeit that we've got overall a good record against them. Just on one other thing as well, on the Liverpool crisis in inverted commas, we're still unbeaten at home in about 26 games, I think it is. So again, we're at Anfield tomorrow, so that is a tough place for an opposition team to come. And as much as I'm sure in other quarters Brighton will be getting talked up, they won't want to come here. That their manager will be like, that is the last place I want to be going for my first ever game. So we've done for managers on their first days in the jobs before, and I'm hopeful we'll do for him tomorrow.
Yeah, and like you said, I think there's nine games in October, isn't there? And then I think that coincides nicely with, like you said, all the players that we've got coming back that can maybe start to come in the side and start to show what they're about. The Ramseys, and we don't know anything about. There's players that we need to see.
The other fella as well, Artur, he's had all his specialists in and around him, hasn't he, according to the reports. He's been trying to get fit. He played in the Pizza Cup or whatever it's called. Do you know what I mean? So he's been making an effort, and so the reports say, he's impressed the manager. So, it feels like he's potentially a bit closer to being able to come on the pitch and contribute, probably likely as a substitute. But, that's another good thing, another positive thing. We'll get to see him. We'll get to see if he's capable. We'll get to see whether he can cut it in this system under this manager with this team, etc. And again, there's an excitement around that for me. There's a buzz around that. I didn't watch that game against Rochdale because that for me is real die-hard stuff to be digging out the stream for that one. But I read that a few people thought he looked a bit off for it even in that game. But he's had a couple of weeks now, hasn't he? And he's had these people around him to get him into a bit of form and fitness. So let's hope that pays off.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed it does, because we need stuff to start going right. Like you said, injuries, getting people back up to speed. That's when Liverpool are at the best. And like you said, playing loads of games in a row, I agree with you. That's when Liverpool are at the best as well. When there's no time to recover. Yeah. It's like muscle memory. We just do what we're good at, and it just works. But we've got loads of comments here, Robbo, because obviously we're live on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So let's go through a couple of these if you don't mind. So
Yeah, go on.
Dan's threw a comment in. All right, lads, hope you're well. Loved Robbo since I started watching tour. Any big projects lined up for him? Also, has he tried any special new crisps? Seen there's Christmas flavours coming out? A few questions there for you.
I know. Any big projects lined up? Not currently. I've been doing a bit of teaching since I left the Anfield app. Various places, various ages of students as well. I was in a primary school today, but I've been teaching some lads a lot older than that as well. Been going into and got some others lined up going into universities and just doing various talks as well. So enjoyed that. It's been something different. Wanted to challenge myself and try something different. But I've enjoyed, I'm enjoying this now being on here again. But I enjoyed talking to Dave on Dave's LFC chats the other week as well, and got some nice feedback from being on that. It was nice to read, and I've got to be honest, I'm missing doing the content stuff. So it's made me think a little bit. Is there still something I can be doing around that? There's various conversations going on. There's a couple of jobs I've applied for and things like that, but nothing concrete happening as yet. But as soon as it does, I'll be shouting about it and I'll put stuff out there. I mean, I've wondered as well maybe about doing some bits myself. Again, I'll maybe have a mess around with that, or I might make something, have a look at it, and think, is it fit for public consumption or not? I don't know. But yeah, I wanted it to have a little break, to be honest with you. So I've had a little break, and it's been good. It's been good to go the game and just go the game. I'm going the game again tomorrow with my son, and I've been to a couple other games with him. And that's been something I've not had the opportunity to do much in the past. So it's been great to go with him. He seems like finally at 14 years old, he's getting the bug, which is good. And I bumped into you, didn't I, Mick, when I was with him? And he's enjoying it, and he's been a bit of a lucky charm so far as well. So his most recent games was Man United 4-0. Last season. He went to the Newcastle game where obviously we won late on, very late on. And then he went to the Ajax game where we won late on again. So, he's got a pretty decent record at the moment. And
I keep taking him, yeah.
I know. One of the lads has got to work tomorrow. So Kara's having his ticket for that. So, maybe put a couple of quid on another late winner, because it seems to happen when he's around. Other questions on there are the crisps. Don't think I've tried anything particularly new or mad. I certainly haven't tried any Christmas flavours so far, but I'll keep an eye out. There was some kind of spicy twirl things that I bought today from the shop at Liverpool South Parkway Station. They were good. It'd be good if I could remember the name, but if you go in there, you'll see them. Cheap fellas, big orange twisty things, but they were good. I banged them on my butty, and I was happy with my dinner. But yeah, I mean, I do miss the crisp chats. I mean, people have literally said, and I used to say it joking myself, didn't I, on the app? Like maybe I should launch a crisp channel, but I'm not sure what that'd do for me health and my weight and things like that. Just eating crisps every day live on YouTube seems like a limited shelf life for both me and the content. But never rule it out. I mean, here we are talking about crisps on here now, Mick, and I was talking about crisps with Dave the other week. So, this crisp chat thing is following me around. So who knows?
Yeah, you could do like a little crossover, like crisp LFC chat or something.
Yeah.
Robbo's crispy LFC chats.
LFC chats. It needs a bit of work on the name, but yeah, I mean, we'll, I won't rule it out.
I was going to say, Dave will be filing a little copyright notice to your if it's called crispy LFC.
All you've done there is change your name, Dave for your name, and added crisps. That's not that.
Yeah, man, that's boss. But to be fair on the old crisp front, I mean, I do like crisps. Obviously, everyone fucking does, but more of a fan like Christmas, like obviously Dan mentioned, like Christmas ones coming out. More of a fan like the turkey butties coming out. To be fair, when they start coming out proper early, big fan of that. Big fan.
Yeah, there was something Greg's trotted out last year, and I had gravy on it, and I was like, "How's it going to work having a butty with gravy on it. Like that seems mad.
Yeah.
But then I ate it. I gave it a go, and it was a thumbs up, to be honest with you. I was thinking of sending off to Sam Allardyce and pointing out that gravy was available in Greg's, and I'm sure he would have been. Well, I mean, he was probably onto it anyway, isn't he? I mean, he's the #1 gravy man in Britain, so I'm sure he was well onto it. But no, it was surprisingly good, and it worked oddly. So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out for butties with gravy on as we get closer to the big Crimbo day.
Oh my god, that sounds proper mad. I'll have to
try
it.
It is mad, honestly, it kind of worked, and I was like, okay, sound.
Oh my god, that's class. But yeah, let's see what else we've got in the chat. We've got Paul saying evening all, nice one, Paul, for jumping in. Aiden's in as well. Evening, chaps. Hope you're all well. The Reds play tomorrow at last. Gary, tally ho Reds. Nice one, Gary, for jumping in. Darren said, tell Robbo to turn the brightness down.
It's not my laptop.
No can do.
Yeah, I was talking to Mick before we started, and I don't really know what I'm doing on it because it's not mine. So hang on. Is that better? Is that doing anything? No?
I don't know, not for me.
No, I mean, it's changing the brightness for me.
On the screen.
It's not changing it for you. So, no, I don't know what I'm doing. I've had to jump on someone else's laptop because I forgot my power cable, schoolboy error. So there's nothing I can do. Sorry, Darren. You're just going to have to cope with this setup.
It's sound, though. You can see it all right, and I can hear you all right, so it's all good. Doug's in the chat as well. Nice one, Doug. Evening, Mick. Evening, Gareth. Christian Anderson's in the chat as well.
He says,
you can do a tour and come to Sweden trying our crisps too, mate. Oh,
yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'll be into that. Is Christian paying?
I reckon he is. He's always on the pub with me these days, so he's definitely paying if I'm going out there to try some crisps. Like,
it's right. LFC crisp chat on tour then. It's getting better and better. This.
It's getting more expensive, like, as well. Little trips to Sweden and that. Right, we'll come back to some of them comments in a bit because I just thought we'd obviously get back into the footy stuff, and obviously Klopp's press conference was today, and he had a few funny things to say, to be fair. But obviously he got asked about Trent, of course, straight off the bat, and he smiled, saying, "You really want to open this box," and which was quite funny. And then he went on to say, if I was in charge, I would decide differently. Obviously, I see Trent differently. That's clear. People talk about him not being a good defender. That's not true. He is a good defender. He just doesn't always defend good. But he's 23, and we're working on it. What are your thoughts on all this? Obviously, we're not. England isn't the #1 priority for any of us. It's always Liverpool. It always has been. It always will be. But it's been a bit mad, this whole Southgate thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit. Look, I always think with international football that there's the way we look at it, or there's the way some of us as fans look at it, and then there's what it must be to actually be a player. So, of course, there's a thing around, a lot of Scousers, and I'm one of them, who I just don't find any enthusiasm for international football. I don't feel part of the England national team thing. I just, I'll stick it on and I'll watch the game sometimes, and it just drifts over me. I don't, they'll score a goal and I don't feel anything. They'll concede a goal and I don't particularly feel anything. I've never paid money to go and watch them, and I've reached 46, and I don't think I ever will now. I know people who have gone and, didn't have particularly great experiences when they did. And I just got no real interest in it. And my main thing when there's an international break of any type is, well, I hope our players are going to get through it injury-free and come back and be able to play for Liverpool. So, in Trent's circumstance, obviously that has been the case because he didn't play in the England games. And in the meantime, you would hope, he's had time to reflect on his own form for Liverpool because it's not been the greatest. He has made some fairly high-profile mistakes, which I'm sure he'd be the first to admit. And what I've always liked about Trent all the way through is, you see it, he bounces back from these moments. He's had these moments before. He's had all the same media before. He's had the same treatment from Southgate before. So it should, in a way, be water off a duck's back. I'm sure that what my point being about, how we look at it and how they look at it, he will want to play in the World Cup. And he'll know, obviously, that there's a thing now with the manager seemingly favouring any other right back bar him. So he's just got to stuff that down his throat. And the best way to do that is go out and be brilliant for Liverpool. So I'm sure there's extra motivation for him there. I'm sure he's wanted to put his form right anyway. And you can't help but agree with Klopp, can you? The lad's 23. And let's be honest as well. He was coached into being a right back, as they saw it, the best pathway for him to get into the first team at the time. So he didn't play as a right back earlier on in his time as a footballer. The coaching team at Liverpool said, what's the best way to get him in the first team soon? He's got talent. And then he got moulded, turned into a right back. So, deep down, does he really want to play there? Or does he want, the same old chestnut conversation? Should he actually be in midfield? Well, Klopp's seemingly determined to keep him at right back. He's happy with his output going the other way. And look, he's been honest today, hasn't he? And acknowledged that he's made mistakes at times. But, I mean, when I say about him bouncing back as well, there was the big thing about, Rashford going back a few years, wasn't there? When, he tore him apart a little bit in one of the games against Manchester United. And then not long after that, he was coming up against Sane, wasn't he? And a lot of people were saying, well, he's not going to do well there. And then he had him in his pocket. And he had a great game, and then all of a sudden it was like, Trent's brilliant again. And, look, 23, and he's won the league, and he's won the European Cup, and he's won the League Cup and the FA Cup, and so on and so on and so on. To have this stack of silverware already to his name at this stage of his career, well, you don't do that if you're not an absolutely top-class player, and he is. And so, it's the old form is temporary, class is permanent thing. Like, he will bounce back. He will undoubtedly be brilliant for us once more, and then it's up to Southgate to take the shit out of his eyes and start picking one of England's best talents. I mean, for me, it says more about Southgate than it does about Trent that he doesn't pick him and that he doesn't even include him in squads. I just think that's poor management. And is there an argument for South? I mean, it's not an England show, and we're not particularly interested. But is there an argument for Southgate to be getting him into the team somewhere and making the most of that talent? I would say absolutely, yeah. But I'm not that arsed. From my point of view, selfishly as a Liverpool fan, that Trent's had his feet up the last couple of weeks. Well, up the Reds, he should be good to go tomorrow then, shouldn't he?
Yeah, it's mad for me. Like, in terms of like world-class players, I think there's few in the England team, and I think Trent's one of them. And the fact that just think that, like, because he came out saying like his Trippier's all-round game's better. I just think like I couldn't disagree with that more. Like, but then you look on the like what Trent might be thinking on the back of that. I think it's only good news for us because it can either galvanise his performances so that he wants to prove Southgate wrong if that's what he wants to do, or he just switches off from England and he gives his best performances because, like you said, he's not been the best, and he'll be aware of that and he'll want to fix that anyway. So then he can just switch off England and just go, well, swerve it anyway. I'll just focus on Liverpool. So it's win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. And like I say, you've seen in his game a reaction to when he's been a focus of media chat, media attention because of what the England manager's done in the past. There's been a positive reaction when he's put a red shirt on. So I'm opening it to the same again, and I'm absolutely good with it. I couldn't care less how England get on in the World Cup. I'm honestly not bothered. I'll watch the World Cup because it's football and because I'm interested. But it doesn't really concern me. But like I said, from Trent's perspective, I'm sure he does want to wear that shirt. I'm sure he does want to build up however many England caps to his name. And I'm sure he does want to compete in the World Cup because as a sportsman and as a pro, that's part of being elite, isn't it? Clocking up 100 and odd caps and potentially winning a Euros or a World Cup, whatever. That is part of the sport that he's in. So he's not going to be like us and be like, well, I'm not asked about England, because it's different for him. He's playing, he's representing his country. It's like, if we were good at sport, whatever the sport might be, the top of it is international. It's considered international football or international whatever, squash, tennis, whatever. So from that from that point of view, he will want to play. But there's clearly like an odd thing with Southgate, isn't there? And Klopp referenced it, didn't he? He said he'd pick him whatever team he was managing. And like I said before, it also says something about Southgate for me. And I just think even how he's handled it just seems unnecessary. To not even have him in the squad, to be coming out with comments about Trippier's got a better all-round game. Like, is that necessary to say that in public? Is that good management? I would say no.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel it's like he's been pressed for a reason, and he's just shit himself and thought, oh, this is what I think. This is the reason why. But then if he believes that, it's worse. If he's just said it because he's panicked, then it's not as bad. But if he really believes that, then
Southgate is norm. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan or anything. I don't think he's particularly brilliant in any way, and but he does seem to think about things, and he does think about what's said in the media. And I think if there is a positive about his reign, if you like, as England manager, it's that he's got some of the England players to open up a bit more, and some of the sessions they've held with the media have been pretty good, and if there's one thing he has achieved, it's maybe you've ended up saying a lot of us, they seem like a good set of lads, because he's allowed them to be a little bit more open with the media, and that side of his management has been good, I would say, on the whole. That's why I'm surprised that he drops in a bit of a lazy comment about Trippier, etc. I mean, all he needed to say there is, I just don't think Trent's form's been quite what it should be lately. I've picked my team on form, and that's why he's not in the squad. However, I'd expect him to recover, and he's certainly going to be in our thinking for the World Cup. Leave it at that. Just straight batter. I don't know why he's making more headlines by like referencing another player and claiming he's better than him. It's just not needed.
Yeah, and you get, like you said, you get enough that on fucking social media anyway. You don't have to the actual England manager like just weighing in on like just like shitty comparison debates. We already have enough of that, and like combined fucking 11s and all that shit. Exactly. We don't need that. But like Darren says, if you haven't already hit the like and subscribe button, that'd be boss if you wouldn't mind. But I think Dave might have missed our Dave LFC chat little segment we had before, because he's only just came in. But
no, you missed out there, Dave.
You'll have to
have a little rewind there, Dave. We were referencing you earlier on.
But yeah, I'll just go through a couple of these dead quick. Mad Japple as poor Trent just needs to bide his time. Southgate will be gone soon enough. And then JJ said, I think negativity for Trent also is because he's ours and Scouse. The comparisons you hear from pundits are embarrassing. I'm also made up he's not doing much for England. Just hope he feels okay. Yeah, I think it's one of them. Like he's old enough now. He's 23. He's still growing. Still going to get better. And he'll be in the England squads for pretty much his whole career anyway. So I don't think he's got anything to worry about. And I still probably think he'll go to the World Cup, to be honest. I think he'll have his trying to prove Southgate wrong head on.
I do.
So I think it's one of them, isn't it? Like he's probably gonna come out firing and probably just hopefully get a load of assists.
Yeah, he's shown before that he's got a fire in him. It's part of his game that he's got some fire in him.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you see a reaction from him. I think you'll see a better form from him. You can imagine like whatever he can do to improve his form, he'll be doing it. And yeah, I imagine he will go.
Yeah, fingers crossed it starts tomorrow. But in terms of like,
have we gone? Have we lost the internet? Oh, yeah.
Am I still here? Can you still hear me? Can everyone in the comments? Robbo's gone. Well, he'll be back shortly. But in the comments, in terms of then, let's just have a little talk about team selections. We were going to get onto that anyway. What are your thoughts in terms of starting 11? Give us your starting 11s for tomorrow. He's back. Here he is.
Internet, eh?
I thought it was me at first.
It must have been me. Yeah, this show's been fraught with technical difficulties, my end. So I apologise for that. But you'd be pleased to know, Mick, if you'd ask me on again from November onwards, I should be in better circumstances. I, for one, will have better internet. And who knows, I might even remember the plug for my computer. And so I'll also have a better camera with better brightness for the complaints about that. So yeah, get us on in November, Mick, and all will be well.
No, I mean it's been sound. It's been sound. I can hear you and see you. Just obviously a few issues, but it's sound. Don't worry. It all sounds good to me, and I'm sure it does to everyone else. But I was just gonna say about like Klopp's, like the rest of it is like his press conference, really, like in terms of like obviously like you mentioned before, Ramsey being back in training, Konate's back, Kelleher. It's all good things, and obviously there's some bad things. Obviously with Robbo being out still, Jones is out still, Ox is out still, Naby out still, and he said these might all be out until the mid to end of October. Diaz, Jota, and Nunez came back from international duty late; they weren't in training. But I think Konate is a big one, isn't it? Because I think he's so key, especially to the way we play with that high line. I think the fact that he came into the team and done so well last year, I think having him back's massive, isn't it? Especially that he got injured in that fucking friendly game as well.
I know, annoying. But yeah, there was a stage there, wasn't there, where he was rightly getting all applauded. We were talking about what a great sign it'd been, and what another piece of genius from Liverpool in the transfer market and so on. So yeah, it was annoying and it was a setback. And look, we've had Matip back there, haven't we? We've had Gomez back there. And these constant changes, they're all good players, but you want a consistent partnership at centre half, and him with Van Dijk looked pretty good there, didn't it, for a while? And I think the difference is as well that he's a dominant centre half, isn't he? So he's got a bit of pace, but he also does that thing for me where if you're a forward, he almost makes an effort to rough you up a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll almost say to you, like, do you want to do that? Do you? Yeah. Well, watch this, and he'll just use his strength against you. And I always think stuff like that's important because it gets into the head then of the attacker thinking, hang on, he's an absolute, he's made of stone, this lad. I can't get past him. He's got more strength than me. And then it's in your head. And that is part of the game, obviously. A lot of physicality has been taken out of the game, certainly from when I started going, way back when. But there is still a place for it. And there's certainly a place for it from centre-halves. And, Gomez had his struggles at times, didn't he? I still like Joe, and I hope he sticks around. And I'm sure he'll come back, and there'll be times when we'll be calling upon him, and he'll be absolutely great for us. But he had a few moments. Van Dijk's had a few moments, as we mentioned earlier. So getting Konate fit and in form and back in the side will be good because it gets everyone else back on the toes as well, doesn't it? If you've got that competition for the place, it's 100% a good thing. And there was a time there where he was rightly first choice. And again, you can see, a scenario in a couple of weeks where he'll be rightly first choice again. And again, that adds to what I was saying before. There's loads of little things at the moment for me that make the prospect of going back to the match really exciting. He's another one. Simply getting some football back after this ridiculously long break is enough in itself, of course. But, players returning from injury, the prospect of having, stronger benches, greater prospect for rotation during games, therefore players being less tired and things like that. All of this points to we should be getting the red revival that we all want in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait just to have just absolute quality off the bench and not having to just rely on putting Milner and Elliott in midfield as each side of Fabinho. Obviously that can work in some games, but we need to be having more depth and that more strength in there. And obviously Thiago brings a lot of that as well. But I just thought we'd jump straight into the team predictions then, Robbo. What are you thinking in terms of who's gonna start tomorrow?
Well, it's going to be too early, isn't it, for Konate by the sounds of it? So he's back, but it seems to be that it'll be a week or so at least. So it's going to be Tsimikas, isn't it, left back? You'd imagine after all the fuss and the fact that he's had a rest, it will be Trent on the other side, with all eyes on him to produce a performance to stuff it down Southgate's neck. Centre half, obviously Virgil and Matip. And then midfield, there's actually some options now, isn't there? Which is good. You've got to have Thiago in there. Fabinho's come through unscathed, it seems, from international duty. And Henderson obviously went away with England, got a little cameo, and hopefully now is fit and firing as well. So it's probably them three in midfield. As you say, it's been a little bit sort of, plugging in players in positions they don't look entirely comfortable in the last few weeks before the break. So, a tried and tested midfield, I think, will be good to see. And then up front, I don't know, up front, I've been thinking about this because obviously we've had Bobby kicking around and things like that. Jota's scored on international duty as well, hasn't he? I think. But I don't know. There's got to be a point, surely, where you back the big man to come back in, start causing teams a problem, show some faith in him as well. And look, he scored a goal, hasn't he, as well, Nunez. And you kind of think he'll be tugging at the leash to get out there and prove himself and all the rest of it. Hopefully in a more positive way and not nutting defenders and getting sent off. So I'd say the big man to start. Obviously Mo the one side of him and Diaz the other.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much nailed on the whole team apart from striker. I think obviously Henderson or Elliott another shout as well in terms of,
yeah.
But like I said, Henderson being back, obviously having that cameo for England, I imagine Klopp will want to go tried and tested, especially against the Brighton team, like you rightly referenced earlier. Like I've done well against us, albeit they've changed manager. But there's a few in the comments that basically I think that's the same team. Pan of Scouse, what a name that is. Yeah, so basically the same team, I think, as what you said, Robbo. Aiden.
Yeah.
I think he's gone the same as well. Dave has gone, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, Jota. Jota instead of Nunez.
He's gone Jota there, yeah.
See, I was thinking, and I've been thinking about this as well. I was last night, like, in terms of who's going to start there. And then Klopp's press conference, he kind of mentioned, like, Jota and that coming back. And I think, didn't he, like, personally ask to get brought off in the Portugal game as well, apparently, because he was a bit fatigued. So, I don't know. Right. I don't know where, I mean, I don't know if that's 100%. I just heard that watching a few shows today. So, whether that comes into the thinking.
Mo scored, didn't he, in one game and then was rested in the other as well. So that seems to have turned out quite well for Liverpool as well. The Brazilians only went and played in France, didn't they, as well? So it's not like they've been to the other side of the earth like they normally have. So the cards seem to have fell quite nicely for Liverpool. Touch wood again in terms of again pointing towards a revival, pointing to victory hopefully tomorrow, and pointing towards that being then followed up by hopefully going and knocking Arsenal off their temporary perch, to quote a phrase.
Yeah, and I think having Jota back fit helps because he's got 7-7 against them. He absolutely fucking loves scoring against Arsenal, doesn't he? So that'll be nice if he carries on that streak and gets 8-8. But Aiden says Nunez scored midweek, so needs to start for me.
Yeah,
Christian says Diaz, Jota, and Salah bring on Nunez early in the second half. So either way, either way, we've got good options, isn't it? And I think that's what we've been saying. There's options there now, rather than just going, we know who's starting. The bench is going to be okay, not that good. Whereas now we've actually got quality, matching quality that we can bring on. So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, you wouldn't be unhappy either way, would you? With whoever's starting up front there. I just think on the Nunez thing, there's an opportunity there for the manager to say, I'm showing you some faith. I don't think we've seen the best here, but this is your opportunity to go and do it. We know you scored a goal on international duty. Get the arm round, ramp them up. Say, go and show what you're about, but do it in the right way. Channel your energy in the right way. The red card was disappointing. The red card was dozy. The red card was daft. But, the idea that, that like, again, the sort of over analysis of footy, the idea that he hasn't come up against that kind of stuff before, having grown up in Uruguay. I mean, fucking hell, do me a favour. Like,
Exactly.
they're known for the dark arts, they taught the dark arts in primary school, I would reckon, in Uruguay. So the idea he hasn't come up against a defender who on the wind-up before, bullshit. He was just, mentally too charged, I think, and and paid the price for it. But if he can get himself in the right place and show the fella, like I said, that we saw, in the opposition kit against Liverpool at Anfield, when he looked impressive, impressed everyone, and no doubt impressed the Liverpool staff, and I'm sure it contributed to the transfer itself, then we will have a player on our hands, and Brighton and other defences will have a problem on their hands.
Yeah, it's just one of them. We need to give him some time. Like I said before, like 2.6 games he's played. It's just like, it's mad that the clips are getting put on Twitter, but that's just the way, like you said earlier, that's just the way the world is at the minute.
Where we're living, yeah.
It's absolutely craziness. But last couple of comments before we get into the score predictions. Dan's gone for Alisson, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Tsimikas, Fabinho, Carvalho, Thiago, Salah, Firmino, Jota. A fresh forward line that knows our pressing triggers will be important. Brighton try to play out from the back. That'll be, so Carvalho right, the right of a three, and then obviously Jota on the left. I mean, if it happens, I'll be surprised, Dan, if that happens, because that seems a few too many changes for me. But it's one of those that if that was the team, then I'd be like, well, fair enough. We're at home and we want to press on the front, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting side, isn't it? I mean, Carvalho would be bold, I would say, when you're trying to sort of, I mean, Klopp and everyone behind the scenes and the players, will all know that, all eyes are on Liverpool here. You can imagine the think pieces about Liverpool are already 3/4 written, and it's just a case of, what bad Liverpool result can we bolt on and put these out. So, the world is waiting and watching for a Liverpool slip up. So I would say, that was my argument earlier, just, go for the tried and tested. I think Carvalho as well is a good option off the bench. Jota is as well. He's proven that. So, I mean, we're back to the idea, though, aren't we? That all of a sudden the bigger picture's a lot rosier than it was. All of a sudden we're able to talk about, well, maybe it's him. The bench is going to look strong tomorrow. So it's feeling a whole lot more positive, and we just have to hope for the right result tomorrow. But again, the record at Anfield's been brilliant and has remained brilliant even through what has not been the best of start. So we have to be hopeful that, tomorrow they do the business.
Yeah, hopefully so. But just before we go, Robbo, just score predictions. What are you thinking?
I can imagine it being sort of cagey-ish early on, just, partly because of the break and things like that. And Brighton, as we keep saying, are no mugs. They've got a system that is tried and tested, and they know what they're doing. And okay, there's a new manager in there, but as I said before, I'd be surprised if he's coming in and ripping up Potter's plans when, they've proven to be pretty effective. So I can't see an absolute Tonkin, if I'm being honest. I'd love one, and I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love, all the stuff that we always pray for, a fast start, an early goal, 2-0 up at half time, and we win 4-0. I mean, I'd absolutely take that all day. But it's a bit of a just fucking win type of game, isn't it? It's a win, any win, a goal off someone's arse type of day. And I can see it being tight. I can see it being maybe 1-0. To be honest with you, something like that. And I'd take that all day. As much as I want to see the real Liverpool rear its head and we all walk out of there tomorrow afternoon really happy, I think we just take a win, any win, and then we start to build up towards that Liverpool machine that we know and love. And, we've got the game after game. We've got Rangers, we've got Arsenal, we've got Man City, we've got the other, Rangers away, etc. We've got all these games where we can start to find that rhythm. I'd be surprised if rhythm comes in day one of our restarted season, but we'll see. But yeah, I expect Liverpool to win, but I think it'd be tight.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. I hope that, like you said, that the ideals that we all want, I hope they're just like prevalent just from like minute one. But just from what we've seen so far with Liverpool, that's not been the case. But hopefully tomorrow's, like I said, there's been a big gap. So hopefully the big gap's done as a big help. But I'll just go through these score predictions there quick. Scouse has gone for 3-1. Christian's gone for 3-1 as well. 5-0, like Paul said, and I have to shave my hair off live. So we're open for 5-0, Robbo. So Christian's going to shave his hair off. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
hope for that.
Yeah, that'll be
Aidan's
interesting to watch.
I know. Aidan's
Someone
gone
said on there, can I have a get in? Well, I'll tell you what, if we win 5-0 and Christian shaves his hair off, get back in touch and we can definitely have a get in, because that'll be worthy of a get in.
So that's like double whammy then. 5-0 win, Christian shaving his hair off, and then we get a Robbo get in. It's like a triple threat shit. Sound that.
Come on the Reds.
Aidan's gone 3-1. Paul's gone 1-0. Kuda's gone for 2-0. Dan 3-0 and Dave 2-0. But yeah, I'll go. Hopefully, I think I don't know. Show yesterday, I went like for 3-1, but I don't know. I'd take a 1-0. I'd take a fucking deflection off someone's like fucking ass. I don't, like you said, I don't care. Like, doesn't matter. Just a win's a win. But Robbo, nice one. We'll leave it there. Nice one for jumping on. Really appreciate it. If you are watching if you're watching on YouTube, do like and subscribe. And if you're listening on audio, Spotify or whatever, then yeah, do leave us a rating on there, because it does help us. It does help us out. But yeah, we'll be back on the weekend. Hopefully, celebrate a Boss Liverpool win. So yeah, nice one, everyone. Nice one to Robbo, and we'll see you next time.